Toby, if you only had a 50% success rate, would you be confident enough to play the lead part?
Wait, what is happening? I'm the A-host. Why are you starting the show?
Welcome to the ChurchGear podcast, where we pull the tech out of the booth and onto the stage to share the most outlandish stories and hidden wisdom from the tech trenches. And now, here are your hosts.
I'm your host, Blake Hodges, the B-host and a man who recently watched his worlds collide. And I'm here with my co-host who has intersected every area of my life, actually, Toby Walters.
I'm trying to wonder what your worlds are when you're referring to them. I'm very interested in where this story is going to go. I kind of imagine your worlds as your gut and your butt. And I'm wondering, like, did they grow so big at the beach that they actually collided?
Those worlds get evacuated very often. Man, our guest is already wincing. I love this. Yeah, Toby, recently we had Donnie, who is a guitar tech here at ChurchGear, play at the youth group at church.
Tech?
Or sorry, he was playing guitar.
Oh, okay.
He's a tech here.
Yes, he is.
Remember Worlds Colliding? I put guitar and tech together.
Yeah.
So I look on stage, he's playing. Patrick, our other guy that works at ChurchGear, is also on stage. So now I've got two people at ChurchGear just on the stage at youth, and I'm just mean mugging him. I'm staring right into Donnie's soul, waiting for him to finally see me. And when he does, it's quite funny. And he was playing on stage with two of the boys that are my 10th graders. One plays piano, one plays bass, and apparently the one that plays bass was not playing well that day. In their rehearsal, he had done terrible on one of the lead parts. He was like, "Come on, let me play the lead part." So
the
he plays
lead part on bass?
Toby, I don't know these things.
You know not.
I don't know tech, and this story's being told to me later by a 10th grader. So
all right.
Low intelligence combination here.
And ironically, we're not even talking tech. We're talking music. But go ahead.
Okay, A-host. And so he tells me he plays it really badly. And then he goes, "Listen, let me try one more time. And if I get it right, can I play it for real in service?" And they go, my other boy pipes up and he goes, he's really black and white. He goes, "If you could only play it right 50% of the time, we are not letting you play it in service." Like, no freaking way. So Donnie is just hearing all of this. Like, who are these two kids? Yep. Those are my kids. Those are my church sons. So
what percentage is it, like a 50-50 shot, whether they're raised by you or their parents?
Oh, they are 100% raised by me at this point. I mean, I am with them for 2 hours on a Wednesday night, Toby. That is the bulk of their life. I have done their raising. I counted most of them on my taxes this year.
Now, I have noticed with my own son, who's 13, as he started to go to youth group over this last year, like, you know, my wife and I have obviously poured into him his entire life.
You've poured a bunch of sewage. She's poured some clean water.
And so he, you know, I don't know. He's doing well as a kid. And then he goes to youth group. And within 2 weeks, he just starts reading his Bible like every night before he goes to bed. And I'm like, unbelievable. We try and teach him the gospel his entire life. And all it takes is 2 weeks at youth group.
Okay, two things. One, this is why I tell people you have to send your kid to youth group. This is the great baton pass to being their parents' faith versus being their faith.
Yeah.
And secondly, remember when, I won't say this person's name on staff, said a couple of months ago, they were like, "Hey, so I started reading the Bible." This was an older person on staff. Cracked me up.
Well, it was a bit out of context. I don't think that person meant that they start reading the Bible for the first time in their life. It was just that day they started reading the Bible. It was just, we love to take things out of context here.
The way it was pitched to me was they had just started. This changes it completely how I view this person now. I thought we were saying they had just started. Well, speaking of someone who also just started reading the Bible, the mix engineer and lead audio tech at Octane AVL and a prolific display of prison ink, Chris Greely. Chris, welcome to the pod, man.
Hey, man, prison ink, huh?
Yeah, can you hold up your hands for our audience to see?
Look at that beautiful
That is a
tab.
serious design. What was the inspiration there, Chris?
I don't know. I always like stained glass stuff, and liturgy stuff is cool as well. And the early church tattoos kind of started the whole idea. And then I actually told my wife, "Hey, I want some prison tattoos." And she was like, "Oh man, I know exactly what you should get." And then she helped me find them.
Yeah.
So.
In prison?
Yeah. No, just at my house.
Just prison inspired.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like your mixing wrists. As you have your hands on the faders, you can look down and see the ancient representation of, the liturgy.
I can.
Yeah.
I can just watch my salvation just play out across my fingers.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Blake, you chose a little different location for your tattoo. Where'd you put yours?
My lower back.
Your lower back. Not yet. That'll be your second tattoo.
No, that'll be my second. No, mine is it's on my ankle, which the Amplio guys said some very harsh words to me to not do, because that would indicate I was not a man, but I still did it.
Blake, what percentage of what you do indicates that you're not a man?
150 negative percent. Chris, how old are those tats? Because they look like you just got them yesterday.
I got the one on my hand I just got like 3 weeks ago.
I knew it.
Yeah. But the ones on my arms are older.
Okay. So recently released from prison on a work release to join us on the ChurchGear podcast.
Chris has so many regrets right now. He's
Yes, he
can
does.
I get off of this right now?
Chris, you've been around the production world for a long time. Can you give us kind of a snapshot of your background? How'd you get your start, and what are some of the highlights in your career?
Oh, man. I started... My dad had a production company when I was a kid, going way back. And I just kind of learned because I was, at church rehearsal, and he was like, "Hey, you turn the gain knob." And I was like, "What one's that?" And he was like, "There's one at the top." And I turned it, and it changed something. And I was like, "Whoa, that's cool." I was like 7.
Yeah.
But he had a production company and rented out PAs and stuff like that, and mixed for bands and things. So I learned how to do that, and then I started playing guitar and touring. When I was 14, I became a session guitar player, studio kind of guy that ended up traveling a whole bunch and just playing for bands. And then I was in my own band called the Rock and Roll Worship Circus. Ended up buying a production company there myself and renting it for the tours. And then whilst doing that, also producing and mixing albums along the way. And then when touring as a musician kind of stopped, I didn't really know what to do with my life. I was like 25 or something.
Toby's still trying to figure out what to do with his life. It's okay,
It'll
Chris.
come to me someday.
Yeah, someday. And we went, I started working in Portland at a church there, and that was going really well, and that was really fun with a bunch of other guys who were all doing the same thing. Like, hey, we're not touring anymore. It was literally like the entire thing was a bunch of old touring guys. Like the entire tech and worship team or worship crew, we all had like 10 years behind us on the road. So yeah, to start doing that, and then one day got called by Bethel to come be their guy, and I told them no. I didn't want to leave Portland. I didn't even know who they were. I was just like,
well, they were nothing, Chris, until they got you, bro.
I don't know. I just didn't know. Because I had done like one little event for them because my friend Gabe Wilson was like, "Hey, they don't have a guy for this event." So I was like, "Okay, I'll come." And then, I guess from then on, it went to producing and mixing their albums, and then running all their front of house. I was head over audio at the church. And then I was obviously the audio guy for the tours. And then I started touring with even more people. And now I'm getting old, and tour sounds like the worst thing ever. So I'm trying to kind of steer clear of live stuff for the most part. But I still like to give away all the things I've learned. That's why I'm doing a lot of production online with Luke Hendrickson and that crew, just to try to, I don't know, what I've noticed on tour and being here is people don't know very much. And even the more I know, the more I know I don't know. The Dunning-Kruger effect, if you know what that is. The more you know, the more you realize you don't know. And when you don't know anything, you think you know everything.
Yeah, that is Toby right there, man. You nailed him.
And Blake thinks he knows everything.
I came out that way, Toby. What can I say? Chris, who were some of the biggest names you worked with when you were out on the road?
Oh, gosh. I mean, obviously all the Bethel guys, the Jeremy Riddles and the Stephanie Greisinger, Amanda and Brian and Jen. And then I've done a few things with Hillsong and a bunch of those guys. MXPX, if you want to go way back.
Oh, wow.
Mixed for them.
Blake, who is MXPX?
That was MXU before they did their rebrand.
Yeah, long time ago. Oh gosh, man, lots of bands back in the day.
Yeah.
Josh White and Telecast and Josh Garrels and
Who behaves better on the road, secular artists or Christian artists?
just depends.
All right, Toby, you take the reins. I was asking some of my curiosity questions there.
So, Chris, let's talk a little bit about your time at Bethel. You came in as kind of an audio director. Were you specifically charged with, more online studio experience, or were you more in the room live, or were you just everything?
Kind of everything, yeah. It was very nonstop, very exhausting. Very much how you would think it would be at a place like that, where it just never stops and you never really have time off. Mm-hmm. And you have to go from, tour, then you have to fly home to mix at church. But everybody flies home to go to church. Yeah. But then when you're not working at church or on tour, then you're working on the albums. And then it's never ending. And it was crazy. I mean, thank God for people like Clint All, who was there, and man, that guy freaking rules. He was the production manager at the time, because he just knows how hard it is for everybody, and he really worked hard to keep morale high. He was super great. He actually kept it running like it should have been running, but it was a lot. It was a lot of work, and it was everything.
It's the only nice thing I've ever heard said about Clint. What can I say?
Didn't you just recently get up to some trouble with Clint at Philo?
I kept Clint out about 3 hours past his bedtime at Philo, and God bless him. He hung out with us. I love that man.
He's great. We've been like friends since I was 18.
Yeah. Chris, that 17? Must have been 5 years ago for you, bro. I mean, you're in your 20s, I'm assuming.
Oh, yeah, definitely in my 20s.
So between touring, Sunday morning worship, and album production at Bethel, where did your heart lie? What's your favorite discipline?
You're going to ask him to pick a favorite child, Toby?
Totally.
Where did my heart lie between those things, or like just in general?
Just between those, between live mixing in touring world, between live mixing in church, or between studio mixing. What's your favorite passion?
I mean, back then it was nothing was more significant than anything else. I loved serving the church. I loved touring because I had a little more freedom to make it sound the way I wanted. And I loved the studio. And I always said, being a mix engineer in the studios, that's going to be my retirement job. Mm-hmm. And it became my actual full-time job about 4 years ago. Yeah. And I mean, I already mixed a lot, but it was an opportunity, and the whole year kind of booked up, and it was either like say no to people or don't do anything else. And I decided not to do anything else. And you know what's so cool about that? What's so cool about that is I got to know who my kids were.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Did you still like them after you got to know them?
Yeah. I like them a lot more now. It's cool. And I think they like me more now, because I'd always just see them and I'm like, yeah, these guys are cool. I had no idea like what they like. I wouldn't have been able to figure out what to buy them as like a birthday gift. Yeah. Because I was touring so much and working so much. So it's been really, really great.
So it sounds like you caught the bug you might be one of the youngest when you were 7 years old and your dad's running a production company and you turn the gain knob and something sparks in you. I know for myself, it was age 13 and I started mixing. And by the time I was 16, I wanted to be the next Chris Lord-Alge, just, mixing studio albums for the rest of my life.
For me, it was 8 years old.
Yes, clearly, Blake, you knew exactly what audio mixing was at that time. And so, Chris, as you engage with, younger people, the next generation now, and you see that spark in them, how do you foster that? How do you find that spark and then pour into it so they can hopefully grow in a passion for audio and production?
Well, I mean, usually if I see somebody that has it, that gets me kind of excited to want to work with them, because I don't like teaching people who don't want to learn and just think they're the greatest already, or people who are bored with it and don't learn.
Blake?
Yeah, I think when you see it, you jump on that opportunity as much as you can. And because there's a lot of people. I've recently found a bunch of young guys who I think are in the DC area now, and they invited me out to track their album, which I usually say no to, but I just felt like I was supposed to. And I went, and these guys are like, man, they could be like the next big thing.
Yeah.
Like the next super passionate, super awesome bunch of guys. They're really young. So I've been trying to pour into those guys, and then, do the production online for everybody. I don't have time. You don't have time to pour into everybody. And I picked up a guy here local who was a mainstream like rap and R&B producer, EDM kind of guy.
Mm-hmm.
And he was awesome. And he's just so passionate. He's my assistant now. And he's getting to the point where it's like, at first he was just my assistant, and now he's like he's much closer to a peer. He's very, very good. We're exchanging ideas now. I'm not just teaching him ideas. Like, he's always learning. And that's what I love to see. Like, once guys get really good, let's say, I don't know if you guys know who Mateus Mainhardt is, but that guy rules. And he started in the internship program with Luke Hendrickson at Bethel. And at the time it was like Luke, me, Clint, Jonah Thompson, and we just all were learning from each other constantly, just iron sharpening iron like crazy. And Mateus was in this group, and he just learned so much, and he ran with it. And now he's like, big pop mix guy, and he makes more mix than I do.
Yeah.
So he's like absolutely slaying. And he was like one of those guys that just went from like absorbing everything around him to we're peers now. Like, we're both full-time doing this job, and we talk and hang out and learn from each other all the time. It's so fun to see people grow like that.
And when you find one of those young people that really has the passion to grow and learn, what are some of the steps you take to get them started, to pour into them, in the beginning, so you get them started in the right way?
Toby's looking because he's never done that, even though he's got like 40 people that work for him.
Yeah, right. I mean, I have them come work with me a lot. So I'll have them come work with me. Let's say we'll work on 1-2 songs together, and I send them to, the other studio with their task. Okay, you guys go work. You go work in this studio. I want you to do these things. And then I'm always like, hey, you messed up this. Hey, you messed up this. Hey, you messed up this. And then when they got it right, I'm like, this is perfect. This is exactly how it should come in, like these things. And then every chance we get, I take them, let's say we go to, I have these other young people that I just took out of, I don't know if you guys know Crass Audio School. That place rules. I just took on, because to complete their degree, their audio degree, they have to do an internship. So I took on a couple of them, and I just take them out on the recording events. I bring them in the studio. I send them work. I get them on like basic tasks that they can do really easy. Like, hey, I need you to print all the stems for this album. And, obviously I pay them. And they kind of just learn how everything is already put together so that they can start copying it. And when they can start copying it, once they get all the concepts, then they start building on it. Mm-hmm. And now, the same as anyone else, I have my concepts are built off of other concepts that I learned from other people, like Manny Marroquin and, a bunch of my other favorite guys. Like you get little tips from all these guys, and my audio teacher, who his name was Craig Alvin, and he's just like, I don't even know if he'd say he's my audio teacher now, but pretty much everything I know from at least studio mixing was from him. And then I put it all into live stuff as well. To me, it's all the same thing. Yeah. It's just, you're just mixing.
So it sounds like one of the main keys is to get them doing the discipline as quickly as possible, other than hey, just sit here and watch me for the next 2 years. That's not going to spark the passion. They need to start touching the gear and doing the discipline as quickly as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if you're not like actually doing it, you're never really going to get it. And if you're not like making mistakes along the way, like my assistant I have now, so many times it'd just be like, he'd send in stuff and I'm like, hey man, like you don't really need to touch the EQs. Like you can just leave them flat and I'll figure out where to take it from there. Because every time he would do the exact opposite thing that probably needed to happen.
Yeah.
I'm like, this guitar is hurting my ears because there's so much 3K. And then I go in there and he's boosting 3K like 6 dB. Then you turn it flat and you're like, yeah, I could still use a little less. you know? It was always stuff like that. And I'd just be like, hey, man, things are real harsh. And then eventually get them set up with a really good listening environment to where they start learning like, oh, this is what things should sound like. And I put them on a diet of like, here's a playlist and I want you to listen to all these songs. Like, listen to all these songs. These are all from the greatest mix engineers in the world. And I want you to learn everything you can from listening to these, like what I have like 40 songs or something that I have them listen to. I just send them the playlist.
Okay. Name like 2 or 3 of those songs and let's see, don't say the artist, but let's see if Blake knows the songs.
Oh, I'm going to crush it.
His pop culture knowledge is lacking to say the least.
I got Taylor Swift and One Republic and that's it. Come on, boy. Let's go.
Oh man. Yeah. Let's Overcompensate.
Oh, I'm overcompensating in all moments. Is that a band title? I have no idea.
Okay. That one's interesting. It's an interesting mix. Boyfriend?
The Pittsburgh Penguins.
Okay. Let's see. Heavy.
Linkin Park.
Okay,
Now, you see what I'm working with here, Chris? It's a dumpster fire.
I don't know if I would know either from song names.
Chris, he just pulled me off the street. I don't even know what this company does, man. I'm just here, gave me this shirt, and here we are.
So, Chris, speaking of Blake's, whatever you want to call it,
genius.
The opposite of that. What are some ways that you would counsel young people coming into audio, coming into production or the touring world to say like, hey, these are some of the worst way or the quickest ways you'll get kicked off a tour. These are some of the, worst practices for how things are done. What are some of those pet peeves you tell people, you got to stop this kind of behavior because this'll...
Wait, are we talking behavior? Or are we talking audio, like professionalism? Are we talking both?
All of it. Like, what are some of those most common things that people just do unintentionally that just the production world is not cool with?
I mean, if you go start telling the band how to play better without them asking you, that's usually a great way to get fired. I actually had a friend that happened to. If you don't take control of your role and own it, that's a good way to get fired too. Like if you're the front of house guy for the tour and the system tech is pushing you around and the system sounds like junk, that's on you. It's not even on the system tech. And so you can get the system tech fired if he sucks, but if you don't take initiative to do that, you're going to get fired instead. And then they're going to hire a guy who has some nuts and can actually say, hey, like...
You couldn't work there, Toby.
Nope.
So, yeah, that's like a big thing. Like you have to be like, no, this isn't right. And the thing is, if you don't know how to fix it, that really sucks. You need to know how to fix it too. Like, even though I go out as a front of house guy, I have to be able to be like, hey, I had a system tech when I was in South Africa who couldn't do the PA, like at all. And I just went, I was like, hey, your subs are out of alignment by like, well, we're fully 180 degrees out of phase. And that's why it sounds like the PA is distorting.
Yeah.
So then I just flipped it and our low end was like 20 dB too hot as soon as we just aligned it. It's just like, and I just pulled up my thing and I measured it and I say, we need to move. It looks like we're off about 5 milliseconds. Let's move. Then we just moved, boop, lined them up. We're like, great, we're good to go now. But it was literally like the difference between the worst sounding show ever and like sounded great.
Yeah. Well, I want to ask you specifically about that because I was recently at a church in the DFW area, and they said you had tuned their system a while back. And, you know, I know enough to be dangerous, I guess, when talking about production. But when we're talking about tuning a sound system, my mind just goes to like tuning a guitar, tuning a piano. You know, can you explain, like I'm a 5-year-old, what tuning a PA actually means?
Sure. It's where we take and you align. Probably the most important thing is your alignment. You have a whole bunch of speakers. We need them aligned down to the millisecond, or it's actually more like the ultrasecond that we're aligning them down to. And we want everything to hit everyone at the same time. And then we're telling each set of speakers to handle a certain set of frequencies. And so we say the subs handle these, the tops handle these, the outfills handle these. And then if you get really into it, we actually get into each speaker box and tell each speaker which frequency to handle. And then we align each of those. And then you throw on some array correction if you have a line array, which would be, cleaning up all the coupling and things like that happen. Because the coupling is when all the speakers are, connected together and acting like one speaker. And it makes actually a lot of problems most of the time. So we will fix that. And then just sweeten it up with a little bit of EQ at the end. So
in your experience, what percentage of churches out there have an untuned or misaligned PA?
Most.
And is it like very out of tune, or is it just, 5 to 10%?
I'd say mostly very out of tune. Yeah.
And how often should churches be thinking about tuning their PA? Is this a once and done thing, or do you have to maintain it every few years?
It's a one-time thing. It's a one-time thing. I mean, unless you move something. If you move anything at all, even a few inches, you need to go address it.
So are PAs just not getting tuned properly when integrators are installing them? Is that what you're finding out?
Yes. Yeah, the system tech or the system engineer, I gotta say, this sounds so mean.
Do it.
I don't really care.
Give your hot take.
Most integrators don't have real system engineers. And they may think they do, but they kind of don't know what they're doing. I've met several good touring system engineers, and they're great. If you can hire any touring guy, because you know what touring guys get that the AVL guys don't get is reps. I mean, they're tuning a rig every single day.
Yeah, in different rooms.
To a spec until you literally can just do it in your sleep. You can do it so fast. And you have these, production companies, not production companies, sorry, these integration companies coming in. And their guy will spend 2-3 days on the system, and in the end, it's still wrong. And you can just pull it up and measure and go, "Wow, man, that's a mess." You learn on tour real quick. It's not rocket science. I probably tune 3,000-4,000 PAs now, and so at that point, you're just this really isn't that hard.
Yeah,
there's just a bunch of rules that you have to follow. It's just like a camera, There's really only a few things that can be adjusted to take a picture, and when you start making it things that it's not, you're going to have a bunch of other problems. And I don't know. There are some good ones. I'm not saying there's none. I'm just saying it's rare to find them.
Do you know of a couple really great system engineers at integrators that you want to shout out? We always love shouting out the good ones.
But who gets left out? Then they're gonna feel weird.
I'm sure there's plenty that he doesn't know. I'm just asking for a couple that he does know.
Oh gosh. Webster. I forget his last name.
Tilson.
I liked him a lot. I only know these guys by first name from touring.
Yeah.
Horatio, who works at Solotech. He's probably the best in the country that I've met. He goes by H. Only guy I know that calls himself H. As far as integration, Clint All does a good job. He does a good job. And then there's maybe maybe a couple of like okay guys out there. They're still kind of learning, so I don't want to say their names just yet because they have a lot to learn still, but they're on the right track.
That's wild that they spend 2 to 3 days and it's still bad. You know, they tried so hard and went so far, but in the end, it didn't even matter.
Blake, fun fact, Webster, I don't know if he still mixes at Fellowship, but he used to mix at Fellowship on rotation. And I tell you, when I used to go there, like I'd hear the mix week in and week out. And the week that it sounded just like, boom, it's like perfect. I'd look back and there's Webster mixing. Like it's just hits different.
Because he doesn't mix every week. Is that why you abandoned our church, Toby?
Yeah, absolutely.
Now you go to the Church of Scientology of Satanhood.
Oh my gosh. So you know Webster.
Yep. Good dude.
Yeah. He's awesome.
Unlike Toby. Good dude.
Absolutely. Chris, talk to us a little bit about the differences in the discipline between live mixing and let's talk just specifically streaming for churches. So mixing in front of house in the room versus mixing for your live stream. What's the difference there? Are you aiming for the same thing or are you trying to get two different results?
I'd say for the most part, you're aiming for the same thing, but the thing is accomplished slightly different because the way I would do it at front of house is when I'm mixing to kind of the crowd, right? I'm mixing to have the church be engaged. I'm mixing to hear them singing. Where is that sweet spot where they're engaged? I'm kind of like paying attention to just the flow of the team and a whole bunch of stuff. So that's live, but in the studio environment, you're going to be doing, or in the broadcast, you're going to be doing that more with the crowd mics, like keeping the crowd mics in there. So you're mixing the crowd into your mix instead of mixing your mix to the crowd. So it's like a little bit backwards from how I would think about it live. But as far as other than maybe like drum triggering, which I never, ever, ever, ever do live, because why not just go tune the freaking drum right? And it's just, I'm just triggering a drum that should sound like a drum either way. But I'll usually trigger on the stream. If I was doing a stream mix, I would trigger on the stream, but just because it's easier.
Yeah. What, which of the two do you hear people messing up more? And therefore, which one would you put like the newer learning volunteer on?
Honestly, probably put the newer volunteer on the broadcast because you can learn faster what is being done. Live, you might be turning a knob and having a really difficult time hearing what that knob is even doing. When you're in broadcast, you're going to hear it right away, what you're doing. Yeah. And having the isolated environment, you're going to quickly learn what's good working and what isn't, and you'll be able to apply that to your live knowledge. Mm-hmm.
And I guess you can get yourself into more trouble in a live room than you can on a broadcast.
Definitely. Yes. I hate like practicing. I always tell all the engineers I train, we don't practice on the congregation.
Yeah.
Like we do what we know is working and we can practice while the band's practicing, we can practice. Mm-hmm. We can try some new ideas, but then, get rid of that idea before the thing until you've fully worked it out. Like, be like, I think this is kind of cool. And just like throwing it on in the middle of the service is a great way to like hurt people's ears.
Yeah. All right, Blake, it is time to baffle you again.
Isn't that just the whole podcast, Toby?
That usually is, but specifically we're partnering with our friends at HouseRight to baffle you in this new segment we like to refer to as Baffling Blake. So HouseRight is an amazing integration team that works with almost exclusively churches all over the country to partner with their architects in pre-building phase or current room renovations, where they help make sure that your space looks aesthetically pleasing, but also acoustically correct for the style of worship that your church is trying to achieve.
You said the word architect, and I just haven't heard anything since. I'm like, that sounds way too technical. That's above my pay grade, but it's not above HouseRight's pay grade.
No, it should be above all our pay grades, but HouseRight does this all the time, and they're amazing at it. And if you are not specifically looking for an integration project, but you're like, hey, I am looking for my next career or opportunity, HouseRight is also hiring amazing people to join their team.
They're hiring.
They are hiring. So if you have been looking at the map and looking at Lexington, Kentucky, very lovingly because of horse racing and bourbon and HouseRight.
And high proof bourbon at that.
Yes. Go to HouseRight.com, check out their opportunities. All right, today we have 5 true and false questions around studio production. Blake?
Got ChatGPT ready. It's going to get me through it.
Are you using AI in real time to help you cheat against Chris?
Maybe.
All right, so I'm going to ask you guys 5 questions. Chris, I'll let you go first every time. You tell me whether it actually happened or whether it is made up. So, number 1, Kanye West. Kanye West once had a hot tub installed in the studio and held meetings with producers inside of it during recording sessions. True or false, Chris?
I can see that being true.
Blake?
It's too tame for him. I'm going to say false.
That one is false. That one was made up. It totally sounds like something Kanye would do, though. Let's be honest.
It would. I have a friend who worked for him, and that definitely sounds on par.
Yeah.
Needs more hard drugs to involve Kanye.
All right, next up, David Bowie. Blake, who's David Bowie?
Isn't he that dude that has like the red eye makeup on one of the album covers?
Yeah, close enough.
Something like that.
By the way, yeah.
David Bowie kept a refrigerator stocked with only milk and raw red peppers during the making of Station to Station.
Gosh, why do you have to call them raw? I mean, they're just peppers. Chris,
true or false?
I don't know. I have to say true or false? Come on, man.
You
right,
got to choose a side.
true again.
Okay.
It's true.
Blake?
Yeah.
I'll say true.
Oh, you're both wrong. That's false as well.
What?
I know.
Right.
I know. What if these are just all false? All right. Number 3, the Red Hot Chili Peppers recorded an entire album in an abandoned mansion said to be haunted. Chris?
Okay.
Okay, meaning...
Sure. True.
True.
Yeah,
Okay.
I have no idea, dude.
All right, Blake.
Dude, I also think that's true.
All right. That one is true. Yep.
All right.
Brendan O'Brien engineered that one. All right, next up, Nirvana's Smells Like Teen Spirit music video almost didn't happen because they couldn't find enough cheerleaders.
No.
Yeah. Is that the last one?
Nope, there's one more.
It's definitely false.
That is true. Come on, guys. Don't you remember?
How can you not find enough cheerleaders? That's like just... You just got to have some screw loose in your head. They're everywhere.
All right, and finally, for Michael Jackson's song Thriller, the producer asked for 78 remixes, and in the end, blindly chose mix number 2 and said, print it.
No way. I'm saying false.
Chris?
They said, when I watched the video, they said more than that, more than 78 mixes, and they did pick number 2.
Well, since Chris seems to know the true story even better than my version of it, we're going to give it to Chris. And that is true. So more than 78, but yes, he said, bring up number 2 and said, yep, let's just go with that. And can you imagine, Blake, me asking you to do something 78 times over and over and over and finally being like, just show me number 2. And I'm like, yep, let's print that one.
I mean, that's what you've done here. We've done this podcast almost 180 times now. We've almost done 3 laps of that.
Yeah. All right, Chris. So congratulations. I'm giving the win to you. You win a prize package from our friends at HouseRight. And if you are listening out there and looking for your next integration partner for a project at your church, reach out to our friends at HouseRight. And also, Blake, what if you're looking for a job?
If you're looking for some horse races, some high-proof bourbon, and a job at HouseRight, they are hiring right now in Lexington, Kentucky. If you're looking for your next opportunity, you should check them out at HouseRight.com.
Love it. All right, Chris. So we love to try and get a disaster story out of our guest every episode. Do you have a moment in your production background where everything went wrong, or maybe it almost went wrong and you found a way to save the day?
He's like being on this podcast with you two knuckleheads.
In my dreams, it happens all the time.
Yeah.
It's the nightmare.
Do you have a reoccurring dream?
Sweating and breathing hard. Something's going wrong. Oh, the show's starting. I'm not there. I don't know how that would happen. But, I can't think of any really bad disaster stories other than the time, a long time ago, our van got flipped.
Ooh.
Hit a deer and flipped the van and all that happened was the production man or the tour manager broke his arm. That was the worst thing there. But that's not really production related, other than all the gear went all over the freeway. And on.
And that sounded like a rocket ship taking off. That was a cool sound effect.
Yeah. On the first Bethel tour, our first date was in Florida, and the gear showed up like 6 hours later or something from the production company who was bringing it to the first show for us to then take it on from there. And so we had like 2 hours till doors to get everything, PA, everything set up, stage, everything.
Yeah.
And that was, I had been touring a long time, but I hadn't, I don't know, I hadn't been touring in a while at that point, and I just like froze. I was freaking out. And Clint pushed me out of the way. He said, "Get out of the way." And I said, "Okay." And then he patched everything. He's like, "Go set up your file." I didn't even have a console file for that first show. I had never been on a Digico ever. That was my very first day on an SD8 on this tour. And so I built the file while Clint, manhandled the setup of everything else. And the show went great, actually.
Yeah.
It ended up going killer. But we had 2 hours till doors to get the entire show up and going and sound checked. And so that's a kind of a disaster story, but Clint really saved the day. It wasn't me.
Way to go, Clint.
I feel like Clint has basically guested on this episode with us.
He's kind of hijacked the hype of this episode.
He has.
Nice job, Clint.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, Blake, you want to bring us home with a tech takeaway?
Toby, that's such a terrible transition. That's the worst transition you've ever had. Chris, he always says that to me when I try to transition over to a tech takeaway, which is your unique piece of advice to a room full of production people. So, Chris, what would you say to our room full of production people here?
Never stop learning. If you ever stop learning, you've most definitely just ended your career pretty much. It'll take a while, but it will eventually dwindle out, and all the young, better guys will take over. And it's just really cool to learn new stuff.
Yeah.
Come on.
Toby, I'm going to give my own tech takeaway, which is have Clint with you at all times. He will make things go better.
Yep. Never stop learning and always have Clint by your side.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll go with that. Clint, he's great. Yeah.
Well, Chris, we really appreciate you joining us, man. Is there anything you'd like to plug? Anything you want to point people towards?
Plug or point people towards? Yeah. Yes. There's talking about young people, the next generation of awesome people. Premix Audio is a company that started by some craft students who they do editing and tuning, and they're very good. I wouldn't plug them if they were not good. But they are good, and I've been using them. And actually, it's my daughter and her husband who started it.
Nice.
And they're doing a really great job. So for, some of your editing needs, tuning, whatever, time alignment, stuff like that. I know as a producer, I hate doing all that work. That's the worst. And instead, I can just say, "Hey, can you do this for me?" And then they do it. And if I don't like it, I say, "Fix it." And they fix it. So it's great. They're very awesome.
That's great. What's the website again?
Huh?
What's the website again?
Oh, premix.com.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Nice. It's Friday on us recording this. I'm going to go get myself a premix cocktail, I think, after this. Chris, thank you for joining us, man. We really appreciate you sharing your insight with everybody.
Yeah. Oh, wait, sorry. Premix.audio.
Oh.
Always got to get that .audio.
Okay.
Yeah,
Premix.audio.
Idiot.
Everybody's up. I wonder what's on premix.com because everybody right now is on premix.com and they're like,
It's the premix
crap.
cocktails, Toby. I done told you.
Yeah. No, premix.audio. Yeah. Okay. Oh, I see Phil. You guys must have had Phil on, huh?
Phil?
Who's Phil?
Yeah.
What?
Skylarov, whatever.
What is
I
happening
always
right
ask
now,
him how
Chris?
to pronounce his name, and he always says, yeah. And I say it different every time.
I don't know.
64.
Oh, 64 audio.
Oh, okay. I was like, are one of us having a stroke right now?
We had Eddie Cruz.
We had Eddie Cruz from 64.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, here's our bud.
Well, Phil's really funny, and he like takes pictures at Disneyland with people,
Just
but he
randos.
blurs himself out of all the pictures. So he's one of the funniest people I met. He's
Yeah.
very Russian and scary.
Nice.
That is hilarious.
Yeah, and 64 is awesome. So
Yeah.
that sounds amazing.
Big fans of them.
Yeah.
Well, Chris, we appreciate you joining us today, man. Thank you. Oh, he's also
There we
got
go.
64s.
Yep.
Yes. What a way to end an unplanned 64 audio plug.
Yep.
I love it.
Yes, of course. Great.
All right. See you, Chris.
Bye.
Thanks for hanging out with us. We hope to see you back next week for more absurd stories, tech takeaways, and overall buffoonery here at the ChurchGear Studios.
All right, Blake, we seem to be, sharing all about our, friends and partners and, 64 Audio, Clint All, HouseRight, like all our buddies.
Yeah, so you should share this with all of your buddies. So send this episode to a friend and say, I got 64 reasons for you to listen to this.
Yeah, and then take them to Disneyland and blur them out.